You changed, the one person who never changes, and now they're unrecognizable. My beloved child, something shifted the moment you walked away from the version of yourself that kept begging to be understood. You may not even realize it yet, but your silence, your growth, and your quiet resilience became a mirror that forced someone to finally see themselves clearly. The one person who never listened, never softened, never changed for anyone, slowly began transforming after crossing paths with your energy. And the strange part is, they do not even recognize who they have become anymore. For so long, you carried the weight of being misunderstood. You learned how to survive inside rooms where your kindness was ignored and your heart felt invisible. There were nights when the world around you felt cold, like rain falling endlessly on an empty road beneath a dark sky. You kept asking yourself why you always felt different, why your soul seemed older than the people around you. But that loneliness was never punishment. It was preparation. Because while others reacted with noise, you learned the power of quiet transformation. You stopped chasing people who only loved your presence when it was convenient. You stopped explaining your pain to those who only turned it into misunderstanding. And slowly, without even trying, you became the lesson someone could no longer escape. The person who once dismissed emotions now sits alone replaying your words in silence. The person who never apologized now feels the weight of every moment they failed to protect your heart. And this is where your story becomes different, because your absence awakened something inside them that your presence never could. There is something even deeper you need to understand. Not everyone changes because they want to. Some people change because losing you forced them to face the parts of themselves they spent years hiding. You became the storm that shook sleeping emotions awake. Like fire moving through an ancient forest, your energy burned away illusions they thought would stay forever. Now they look into the mirror and see someone unfamiliar standing there. Softer, quieter, more aware of the damage they once ignored. And somewhere deep inside, they know your soul became the turning point they can never erase. But that was only the beginning. Because the transformation happening around you is connected to something your heart has sensed for a very long time. A sacred shift is unfolding silently beneath the surface of your life. And what happens next may finally reveal why everything had to unfold this way. There was a time when you questioned whether your love mattered at all. You gave patience to people who only understood distance. You gave understanding to people who only responded with confusion. And somewhere along the way, you became exhausted from carrying emotions nobody seemed willing to hold with you. Yet even during those silent battles, your soul was changing in ways you could not fully see. The pain did not harden you the way it hardens others. It deepened you. While others became colder after disappointment, you became more aware of what truly matters. You began noticing the quiet things, the peace hidden inside lonely nights, the wisdom found in tears, the strange comfort of staring at the stars after everyone else had fallen asleep. And without realizing it, you started walking a path very few people ever understand, an ancient path of inner awakening. That is why your presence affected them so deeply. You carried something they could not explain. Around you, pretending became difficult. Masks began falling away. The version of themselves they spent years protecting slowly started cracking open every time they looked into your eyes. At first, they resisted it. They acted distant, confused, even defensive. But your energy kept touching places inside them that had been emotionally asleep for years. And now, they are changing in ways nobody expected. The person who once avoided vulnerability now sits quietly reflecting on every conversation they took for granted. The person who once ran from emotions now feels haunted by the warmth they lost when they lost access to your spirit. They are beginning to understand that your love was never ordinary. It carried truth. It carried healing. It carried the kind of emotional depth that only enters a person's life once. And what happened next changed everything. Because your journey was never only about teaching someone else how to change. It was also about discovering your own strength. You had to stop seeing yourself through the eyes of people who could not recognize your worth. You had to walk through emotional darkness long enough to finally understand that your sensitivity was never weakness. It was wisdom. It was intuition. It was the quiet light guiding you through storms that were meant to destroy you. But instead of breaking, you transformed. There is one final truth your heart has always known. Some souls enter your life to comfort you. Others enter your life to awaken you. And sometimes, without meaning to, you become the awakening someone will remember forever. Not because you were perfect, but because your presence showed them a version of themselves they had never dared to become before. Like the first sunrise after a long and endless winter, you reminded them that change is possible, that healing is possible, that love can still exist after disappointment. But the deeper reason this connection changed both of you has still not been revealed. And when that truth finally surfaces, you may begin to understand why your soul felt drawn into this story from the very beginning. My beloved child, the truth is, this connection was never random. Long before you understood why certain people entered your life, your soul could already feel the lesson hidden beneath the pain. That is why, even after the distance, even after the confusion, something inside you still sensed there was a deeper meaning behind everything that happened. Not every chapter is meant to destroy you. Some are meant to awaken the parts of you that have been sleeping for far too long. You spent so much time believing you had to earn love by sacrificing yourself. You carried the emotions of others like heavy stones inside your chest. You stayed patient when your heart was tired. You stayed understanding when nobody tried to understand you. But slowly, the universe began pulling you away from the version of yourself that accepted less than you deserved. And although that separation hurt deeply, it opened a sacred doorway inside your spirit. Now you are beginning to see life differently. The silence no longer frightens you the way it once did. Lonely nights have become moments of reflection instead of punishment. You have started rebuilding your connection with yourself, piece by piece, like someone lighting candles inside an abandoned temple after years of darkness. And this quiet transformation within you became impossible for them to ignore. Because while they were watching you heal, they were also being forced to confront everything they buried within themselves. The person who once seemed emotionally unreachable now feels shaken by your absence. Not because you chased them, not because you tried to control them, but because your energy carried sincerity in a world full of masks. You showed them what honesty feels like. You showed them what emotional safety feels like. And after experiencing something real, ordinary connections no longer feel the same to them anymore. That realization changed them from the inside out. But there is something even more important your heart needs to remember now. Their transformation is not your responsibility to carry. Your purpose was never to lose yourself trying to save someone else. Your purpose was to discover your own light again, to remember that your soul deserves peace, softness, and genuine love too. Like the ocean calming after a violent storm, your spirit is slowly returning to itself. And in that return, you are becoming stronger than you have ever been before. This is why your story feels so personal, because deep inside, you have always known you were meant for more than constant heartbreak and emotional exhaustion. Every difficult chapter shaped your wisdom. Every betrayal strengthened your intuition. Every lonely season taught you how to survive without losing your kindness. And now, standing between the person you once were and the person you are becoming, you are finally beginning to understand the beauty of your own resilience. So if this message found you during a quiet moment of reflection, let it remind you of one thing. You were never too much. You were never impossible to love. You were simply carrying a depth that not everyone was ready to understand. And if this message resonated with your soul, leave the affirmation, "I am transforming," in the comments below. Then allow yourself to continue this sacred journey by listening to the next message waiting for you.